Hello, my name is Daniel Morgan. I am doing my report on domestic violence and restorative justice and how restorative justice can affect domestic violence. But first, we have to talk about what domestic violence is. What is it? Domestic violence is violence that is used by intimate partners. Usually these are people who are close to each other, either spouses, children, adults, uh, fathers and mothers. Domestic violence is a behavior that is learned by either partners from their childhood or learned recently to control their partners. People who can be affected are the following: spouses, dating relationships, children, or a resident in the same household. This is a slide of the reportings I found. This is comparing the victims of domestic violence to violent crimes. It's been about the same overall through the course of the past 3 years, but you can get the idea of it. Domestic violence in Michigan. Oh, this is in Michigan. It occurs way more than violent crimes, although it's not as severe, but it is also as damaging. It's roughly between 85 to 90, like 3,000 reports each year. Who are affected? As you can see, anyone can be affected. Um, why does this mainly occur? This has a cycle. Basically, it starts off as like, maybe it's like depending on how it starts, it could be anywhere from tension building or the honeymoon. And if it goes to the honeymoon, basically the couples want things to get back to normal, so they're as nice as possible with each other, and they slowly start to ease into it, um, without giving each other too much praise. Uh, and then after that, it starts to calm down for maybe a week. This can range from anywhere from a few days, months, or upwards to like a year. After that, tension starts to build, and that's when the incident or acting out phase occurs, where it's some type of violent reaction. So tension building starts and steadily builds. Abuser starts to get angry. Commu- Communication breaks down between the two. A victim feels the need to concede to the abuser. Um, a victim feels uneasy and needs to watch every move. For an incident or acting out phase, any type of abuse occurs. It can be physical, sexual, emotional. It doesn't really matter. It can be any of the forms. Honeymoon, the abuser apologizes for abuse. Some beg for forgiveness or show sorrows. Abuser may promise it will never happen again. Usually it blames victim for provoking the abuser or denies abuse occurred, minimizing or denying or claiming the abuse wasn't as bad as the victim claims. Calm. The calm period is abuse is slow or stop. Abuser acts like the abuse never happened. Promises is made during a honeymoon stage may be met. Abuser may give gifts to the victim. A victim believes or wants to believe the abuse is over. What does domestic abuse looks like? It can be anything physical, abuse, sexual abuse, emotional and psychological abuse, verbal abuse, and economic abuse. In the United States, between 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. On a typical day, domestic violence hotlines receive approximately around 21,000 calls. That's 15 calls every minute. 72% of all murder suicides involve an intimate partner. 94% of the victims of these crimes are female. The presence of a gun in the home during a domestic violence incident increases the risk of a homicide by over 500%. The physical abuse. This can be anywhere from pushing, shoving, kicking, strangling, hitting, or punching, locked out of the house, denied help when they're ill, like they're sick, injured, or pregnant, weapon used against them, being not allowed to leave, objects thrown at people, and abandoned in dangerous situations. Sexual abuse. Forced to have sex or watch sexual acts, forced to perform sexual acts or have sexual acts performed on them, forced to dress more sexual than they wish, forced to have sex after physical assault when you are ill or have a condition. Emotional and psychological abuse. Threatened harm to you and your family or your pets, believe race, heritage, class, religion, or sexual orientation ridiculed, manipulated with lies and contradictions, being convinced you are to blame for the abuse. This is mainly known as gaslighting people, believing that they're crazy, and stalking them. Economic abuse is denied access to bank accounts, credit cards, or vehicles. Partner controls all finances, prevented from getting or keeping a job or from going to school. Limits your access to health prescriptions or dental insurance. The verbal abuse. This is this one, it's quite a bit. It's basically anything that's dealing with insults or being ridiculed, such as like he or she may keep you up all night to sort this out once and for all, or even wake you at the night to continue to verbally abuse you. The abuser may also even say kindly things to your face, but speak badly about you to your friends and family behind your back or in front of you. Yeah. Why abuse your partner? The main one is basically through control, through fear. Domestic violence is a pattern of learned behavior, like we learned in the past or previous slides, in which one person uses physical, sexual, and different types of abuse to control a person. Domestic violence is people abuse their partners because they want to control or power over their partner. Most of the time it's through fear. How to prevent abuse. The current methods today are basically fining them $500 and then sending them to jail for 93 days. Now, not only does this isolate the offender, which we've known through many studies, this does not help people. It actually damages them further, but also fining them is also can impact the relationship even further, depending on their situation economically. So, are there any other methods that are better? Well, we're currently in a class about restorative justice, and it definitely seems better than our current system to date. What did the victims have to gain from this system? They get to learn about the offender and put a face to the crime of what they're being dealt with or what they're being exposed to time. Ask questions to the offender of why they're doing it. Express their feelings and needs after the incident. Maybe both the offender and the victim can figure out why it's occurring and get down to the deeper meaning to prevent it from happening. Receive an apology or some type of repayment of what happened. Sort out any existing conflicts and put the crime behind them. Some of the advantages of restorative justice are the following. The criminal justice system may or may not meet everyone's needs, so this is a good substitution for it. Either party doesn't want to go to court mainly due to public viewing or shaming themselves or others or their family. Either both or one of the parties wants the domestic violence to stop. Both parties wants to know the reasons why the abuse is occurring. This is one of the main things that can help with proceeding forward so that both the people feel like they can move on. Alright, and with the disadvantage of restorative justice. Not all offenders, only those who, it's not open to all offenders, only those who have openly admitted to the crime, and even doing so, the victims may reject their offer, meaning no solution can be met. And this might happen either like during the meeting when there's large arguments that we've had during our class where we really couldn't come up with a solution that's effective for punishment, or the offender agreed to it. So this probably happens quite a bit. Also, psychological harm may be brought to the victim, especially if the offender is ruthless and shows no empathy for what they have done, what their acts have done. They just don't really care. This is pretty hard to get through people who are sociopaths. They're difficult, but it's doable. They understand that what the punishments that they can face if they don't change their ways. But some people, like psychopaths, this system just falls apart with those people. The victims may actually end up shaming the offender. This can also have the reverse effect and basically damage the offender in this process. So if we do go through the conferences and everything kind of lines up, how do we move forward? To go ahead for the healing process to continue, some guidelines and rules need to be set. One, the violence and abuse needs to stop among the victim and the offender. The offender has to take responsibilities of their actions, such as the punishments, and continue doing them to make sure it's ingrained in their mind that what they've done is not okay. And while in the conference, the facilitators need to keep control of everything that's happening, so none of the parties can get hurt. Here are some of the citations some of the work I've gone through and done for researching purposes. I hope this was informative. It has helped me basically see that restorative justice is a better practice than, even in most cases, with even domestic violence, because domestic violence currently, you just slap a fine on them for $500 and throw the person in jail. This not only does this hurt the relationship even further, but it can damage it further. The offender or victim can blame each other and basically swap roles due to this. It doesn't really resolve anything. It actually hurts the relationship even further. Although, yes, restorative justice can fall apart when the offender or victim is a psychopath. It holds no value on what's at stake for them. So they show no empathy. Thank you. This was Daniel Morgan, going through some of the advantages and disadvantages restorative justice can have towards domestic violence. I hope this was informative, and have a good day. Bye.